Hello, we're going to go ahead and get started. Like I said, I don't want to keep extending the time that we start because I don't want to take away from Marie and her presentation. So thank you so much for joining us on Channel 3. My name is Charlene Walters, and I am on the Board of Directors for Agile Richmond. And my co-host is going to be my son, Anthony. He's not in the camera right now, but if anything comes up, him and I are going to jump in and try to answer questions and help you with anything that may happen throughout this. I've already talked to Marie. She already has an introduction that she's going to give. So I am going to turn it over to her. Thank you, Marie, and we're excited to hear you.
Thank you. All right, I'm just gonna give one more minute because I'm setting up some volunteers for an activity. And let me check here in my sheet. I think I have the volunteers I need. So we can go ahead and get started. All right, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can see it.
Awesome. All right, good morning, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed that awesome keynote. Very excited and energized to start the day for us at miniVAte. I'm happy to be here. I'm going to be talking about creating light bulb moments when coaching on flow. We're going to go over 2 activities to run with either your Kanban or Scrum teams. A little bit about me. I am Marie Dingess. I'm an Agile Portfolio Lead at Capital One. I started as a web developer 20 years ago and had a lot of different roles over that time. I worked in Agile teams for about 10 years and was coaching for about 5 years, and then just made the switch to portfolio lead, which hopefully I'll still get to do a little bit of coaching in different ways there. So that's a little bit about me. In order for you to decide if you want to continue with me today and stay and hear this awesome talk, I thought I'd skip to the end and tell you what are the results of doing these activities on our teams. And in addition to a lot of other things that we did in the organization. So first is we started getting leadership support for saying no or not yet. So in this view, no is actually a good thing. It means that your teams can focus, their work is prioritized, and they can get things done that they need to. So we started to see a change in leadership behavior, which was great. And the second thing we saw was quantitative. So we saw 90%, we started at about 60% of epics getting completed, or features, getting completed within a safe program increment, or PI, and improving that to 90%. So awesome results. So now let's dive into what some of these activities are and some of the coaching that we did. So let's break down the title of the talk just for a second. I chose the term light bulb moments because this is one of the big reasons why I got into coaching. I really loved seeing those light bulb moments of when somebody got a concept down, right? And they really connected it to their work. and it actually helped solve a problem. So sometimes you might see these as like this kind of reaction, right? If you know, maybe once in a career you'll get one of these, right? But it's these, oh, okay, I got it, and now I know how it can help solve my problem. So those are the moments that I live for as a coach. All right, the other concept I have in the title is flow. And there's lots of definitions of flow, but this one I like is basically the manner in which work progresses through a system. So if it's good flow, it's going to move steadily and predictably. And if it's bad flow, you'll get a lot of stops and starts in your system of work. So why is this talk important now? Well, since we've had the pandemic start in March of last year, there were a lot of searches in Google around how to get your brain to focus and how to focus better. 300% increase and 100% increase in these search terms. So now more than ever is a good time to talk to your teams about creating ways where they can focus more on the work that is priority that they need to do. The other reason I show this is that from a training perspective, you really don't have the luxury of really long training sessions anymore. I know that we still do them in some cases, but if you want to really keep your audience's attention and get to that learning objective quicker, you're going to need things that are easy to run and people can connect with quickly. All right, so we're already at the first game. This is the name game. You might be familiar with this from a physical perspective in doing it. So you'll see when we do it virtually if it's something that you're familiar with. And feel free to like add questions in the chat as we go. I'll try to monitor those along with my helper here. But feel free to jump in anytime. If you've seen these before, you can add those in the comments as well. So this is kind of a cheat sheet for you for like, hey, how do I do this activity and what are all the high level things to know about the activity. So I typically run it less than 20 people. That's where you get the good discussion happening. It's pretty much like a team or two teams, right? That you're helping to bring this to light. You can even do this at a program level because the concepts that we're learning here are how to really limit how much you're doing. And so you can limit how much you're doing at the story level, and you can limit it all the way at the epic level and program level and even beyond. So we're going to learn about WIP and what impacts it has. And we're going to do that in a Google Sheet today, but you don't have to use a Google Sheet. You can use whatever collaborative tool your company enables for you. So it could be Mural or another whiteboarding tool. You can do this actually with maybe just two people. So we can talk about that later too, how you would do that in the sheet. All right, I learned this game, like I've seen it a while back. I think maybe Marty Bland had run it at Capital One in a meeting I was in at one time, a long time ago. I've seen it online for a while. Heinrich Nyberg was the one that first published it out there. But then I experienced again as a part of Modern Agile training that I did with Josh Karievsky and Ashley Johnson last year, right before the restrictions on travel. And I was like all excited to bring in this Modern Agile things that I've learned into our company. And then the pandemic hit and I'm like, what, how am I going to do these things, these exercises? So we had to make it in a virtual format. So thanks to Eddie Combs for helping me put this in here. All right, so let's get to the activity. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the activity as if we're a classroom, kind of in a learning situation. I've got a team or two on the call, all right? So I'm gonna put my coach hat on, and then you'll know that I'm in my facilitation mode and we're in the session. So I should say coach/trainer. All right, so this is typically how I introduce this topic. All right, so it wasn't so long ago that people managers really wanted to have their teams be productive, and the way that they did that is they manage their utilization. So if I have my people at 100% utilization, everybody's working, everybody's got a lot to do on their plate, that means that I have a productive team and we're getting things done. I want to show you an example of what 100% utilization looks like in a non-team scenario. So in this picture, we've got 100% utilization of that road, right? As many cars as we can put on it as possible. And what's happening? What are you guys seeing? You put
Nobody's
it in the
going
chat?
anywhere.
Traffic jam.
Or yeah. A lot of people are stuck. They're not moving very quickly, right? We want everybody to move quickly, right? And we want all the people to reach their destination. Do you think the white SUV there can predict what time he's going to get to work that morning? No. So it's human nature, right, to say, I want to get more, right? So I'm going to do more. That it makes logical sense, right? So as human beings, that's just how we think. But there's actually a little bit of trick to this, and that's where concepts of flow come in. So there is a connection here between work in progress, how many things you have going, how many things you can get done, which is throughput, and how quickly they can get done, which is cycle time. So if I have less things going on at one time, does it mean I get more or less things through? My throughput would increase and my cycle time will decrease, so it'll get faster. All right, but don't take my word for it. Let's play a game and find out. I've got some brave volunteers this morning who are going to help me out. Maggie, were you able to get in the sheet, or I didn't?
Yep, I'm in.
Oh, okay. Can you put your name, last name in the setup tab in that green box for me? And Mark, are you in the sheet? Mark?
I am.
Okay, great. Mark, you're going to be a special volunteer
today.
Yeah,
I know what's coming.
All right, so my volunteers, except for Mark, okay, in these requester boxes, they are working in an organization and they really need some important work to be done. They need their names written down, but they can't do it themselves. They have to go to specialists, a special team to write these names. And Mark is known throughout the organization for writing names. He is such an expert at it, and he can do it so quickly, okay, with high quality. So these folks are going to be requesters here in the boxes. What you're going to do is we're going to go to the tab called Round 1. In the tab called Round 1, you're going to see your names on the left, okay? And then you're going to see times on the right. Mark is going to write down your name, okay, your last name. And my requesters, you're going to write the time that he started your name and the time that he finished writing your name. And do you see this clock that I have down here, the stopwatch? All right, so I'm going to hit the start button. Mark will start writing your name, and you'll just have to keep track of when he started your name and when he finished your name and put it in the box. And you'll need to put it in the format that's listed here, number, colon, number, number. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, great. Now, Mark, what do you think I'm going to ask you to do?
All the work.
You're going to have to write these names, but here's the trick. In round one, I mean, these requesters, they are really like, they really want their names done really quickly, and it's all priority number one, okay? They're all prioritized, but they're all priority number one. So you're going to have to like write a letter of a name and then move to the next one. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So you're going to have to go S,
Yep.
C, Q, right? And then go back up to the top. Does that make sense?
Yep, I'm on.
All right, great. Everybody ready? Can my volunteers type the word ready in the chat?
This is Mark, I'm ready.
Awesome.
I want to move off my sheet.
I know you're ready, Mark. You're good. Okay, we're all ready. Mark, you're ready?
Yep.
Okay, I am going to hit the start button and you can start now. He's doing a good job here. See, did I tell you he's an expert at this?
Has he done this before?
I've seen something similar.
Oh, Kelly's name is done. I think it was Chris.
A good name here for me. Sheesh.
Sadwika's got that long name. She's perfect for this exercise. All right. Awesome.
And I even spelled them right, I think.
All right, great. Does this look right? So we've got, yep, around the same time here for the last two. Yeah, okay, great. Good job, Mark. Way to go. I knew you would be good at this. All right. Second round, we're just going to do 2 rounds, so you don't have to type too much, okay? Second round, what do you think I'm going to ask you to do?
Do one name at a time.
Yes, do one name at a time. All right, so everybody go into the tab called second round. I'm going to reset the clock here. And Mark, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are my volunteers ready? Yep. Okay. I'm going to hit start. Am I? Okay, good. I'm lagging a little bit. It's the only challenge with this game. Sometimes you will hit a lag. But that's okay.
Google Sheet stops trying to help me, I'll be okay.
Yeah, when you hit those L's, it might try to auto add the word letter in there, but that's where we get those quality issues that, you know, a team just has to work through. Whoa, super fast. Great job, Mark. That was awesome. I think you were at around here for finishing up. Maggie's putting her times in. All right, just fixing some of the formats so the math works out here. Okay, awesome job. Thank you guys so much. You can take a break. All right, let's look at the summary page here. What do you guys see? What do you guys notice?
Doing one thing at a time is much better.
What do you mean better?
Faster, more efficient.
Okay.
Better flow.
Right? So his average cycle time went down to almost 10 seconds, right? On the second one where he was focused on one thing at a time. Anything else you notice?
Easier to do quality control.
Okay. Say a little bit more on that.
When you're focused on just the task at hand and you're doing one thing at a time, it's easier to do quality control and see where you're missing right away.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. What else do you notice about the numbers here?
Maria, I think the numbers are off, right? My first time was 1 minute, 11 seconds. That final stopwatch.
Oh, yes. You know what? You're right. This should be this one right here.
Okay, I thought that was just me.
Yeah, because it felt faster.
Yep. Good point. Yeah, that one needs to just be filled in by the facilitator, not filled in by the last box. So what else do you notice about the last requester start time? So Maggie got her name started much earlier in the first round, right?
Oh, yeah.
So what does that mean?
Just because you started all of them at the same time, they all got something, but as far as like a final quality project, you still deliver faster, doing one thing at a time. Like instead of 56 seconds, she was done in 4 seconds.
So if I'm a set of requesters and you tell me, hey, we have to limit our whip, our agile coach said, whip, 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 we got to limit our whip. They're going to go, what does that mean? Okay. Can you start on this? Right? They're going to say, start on my work, right? Because I think that if you start on my work earlier, then you'll get finished earlier. But that's not always the case, right?
That's very true. I'm dealing with this right now with my team.
Yeah. So, yeah.
If you don't mind me adding, I might get, as a product owner, I might get a warm and fuzzy that my work has started earlier.
Yes.
But ultimately, if I look at the big picture, I'm going to learn that patience will get me what I want, maybe a little faster.
Right. So you're going to have to build that trust with that product owner, right?
Yeah.
By delivering, right? Either when your SLA says or you've committed to the work, right? And in order to get that predictability, you might have to limit how many things the teams are working on. And this is not, I'm not just talking Kanban here, right? I'm talking Scrum teams as well. I'm also not just talking stories, I'm talking features and epics too. So this is a good learning for team level folks and above. Like, hey, if we start everything at the same time, it actually is going to take a little bit longer. Our product owners may get that warm and fuzzy, right? But if you continue to work and deliver what they need and you're predictable and can do that for them, that'll build that trust. So when you say, hey, we're going to wait and do your request a little bit later, but based on how you've been working with us, you know that we deliver, you know, well for you. So there's a, so it's not just the numbers, right? You're factoring in how people are feeling about the request and how they're perceiving things. All right, how did it feel to be the worker, Mark, in round 1 and round 2?
Round 1, because I had to keep looking at what name I was spelling, was much harder.
It's harder?
Because I had to keep thinking, okay, what am I doing now? What name am I spelling? What's the next letter? Whereas round 2 was, you know, I could look at one name and just spell it out in order. So
right. So can you imagine a software engineer developer having to switch, right? Story to story or component in the system to another component, answering Slacks, going to meetings, right? Getting shoulder taps and doing all of that in a day. That's why a lot of engineers are, you know, you got some engineers who work at night because that's the only time they say they can get some heads down focus time. That should not be the case. So we need to make that space for them to be able to focus on their work and then limit how many different things they're also working on at one time, if possible. Right? How did it feel as the requesters? It's a little bit of a trickier question.
I like seeing my name get done a lot faster the second time around. It was frustrating to just get my S, then my H, then my A. You know. Right.
So Kelly, imagine if you're a product owner and you have this, or not a product owner, but a requester of a team, and you put the request in, right? And then you're waiting, right? But our requesters don't just wait, right? They might wait for a couple of days, but then what do?
When am I going
Is it done yet?
Right.
When is it? Can I get it? Is it done yet? Right? And so you had to, like, you might have poked to Mark in the first round because you weren't getting your request done soon enough. Hey, is it done yet? Right? And you have to keep kind of keeping tabs, where in the second round, you get that work done faster. You don't have to do that check all the time. I realize this is a very oversimplification, right, of how we work, but
well, I also want to add, like, in the first scenario, even in the second scenario, like if I were to continue to poke him, because I might anyway, I'm very impatient, and even though he's focused just on me, at least he'd be able to give me a more accurate response to where he's at, if you know what I mean. In the second scenario, in the first scenario, he might not even know because like we don't even know what's coming yet. So,
right.
Because exactly. I'm working on so many different things.
Exactly. All right, so I put some of my questions here. I'm going to take my hat off now. We're back in the workshop. Thank you so much to my volunteers. Right, so what did I ask as a facilitator? What did you notice, right? I didn't say. I had the participants say what they noticed, right? They're telling me, how did it feel to be a worker, to be a requester? And if they are still not getting that start time of the last requester, hey, what do you notice about this? How might that translate to how you're working today? And the last question we didn't do as a group, but, and this one's a little bit tougher to get just with this exercise. So I'm going to show you some other links to other activities and games that you can run. But when you're having this conversation with a team, say, hey, when you're done with your work on your team, what do you typically do next? Do you just pull the next request, right? Mark had a series of requests he was running through, and he pulled all those to work on, right? And he started working through them. What happens when he gets done with those? Or let's say in the second scenario, when he worked on one name at a time, what does he do when he's done with that first name? Does he pull the next name, or does he ask his team if they need help finishing something else before he starts something new? And that's a much harder concept to continue to coach with your teams on, but you can use, you know, these kind of conversations. You can, you know, ask when you're in that stand up and when you're seeing them, well, I'm going to work on this next. Well, hang on a second. Does anybody need help first before you start on that new thing, right? So you can start to teach that. Any questions there? All right, quiet group this morning. So there's other virtual games out there that do more of the full flow. This is really just focused on limiting how many things you're working on at one time, right? But if you want to get into watching that flow and how you figure out what to work on next, how you take in factors like priority and effort and make the right decision about what to work on. Twig is based on Get Kanban, which was the physical Kanban game that we had. And Okaloa Flow Lab was also a physical game that didn't have some software development states. It was open, so it's a little bit nicer for teams that are not software teams. But it does cost, you know, some money to do. So those are some other games you can look at, and they're going to be much more expensive. So these games would probably take, you know, an hour or more to really work through. The whole Flow Lab like workshop is supposed to be like a full day workshop, but you can do pieces of that in shorter time periods. Okay. All right, next activity. You guys can sit back. I don't need volunteers for this. I'm just going to show you what this looks like. Again, I used a Google Sheet because it's easy. If you have it in your company and people can collaborate with it, it's easier to do it that way. But you can just be a facilitator and you know, walk through these things with the team as well. So you can do it in two ways. All right. So what Kanban says is the goal is to economically balance demand against capability. I would argue that with Scrum teams, if you've got Scrum teams that are underwater, you've got customers that are not happy, they're not getting their requests done on time, or it's taking a long time. And the team is trying to, maybe there's a lot of different dependencies they're working through. There's just a lot on them. It could be a good exercise to do there as well. I've done this with Kanban and Scrum teams. Especially too, if you have teams that are doing support as well as as doing enhancements on their products. This is a good exercise. Where it comes from is the STATIK method of introducing teams to Kanban. So it's a part of the analyze demand step. If you guys are not familiar with STATIK and you are thinking about introducing your team to Kanban, this is a good approach to doing that with your teams. But again, doesn't have to be Kanban. All right, so this exercise, you can do it with 1 to 2 teams at one time. If you do it with 2 teams at a time, you might have to do breakout rooms or something, and then just kind of keep tabs between the groups and bring them back together. It's going to give them a holistic view of the work that they have. So sometimes our tools, like we use Jira, you might use a different tool, Rally version 1. All of the work that the team does may not be captured there. Right? There may be some kind of support ticketing system. They may be helping people out in Slack or email, inboxes. Like they may be doing a lot more than just what's in Jira. So this gets the team talking about that as well. And you can do this again in Sheets or any kind of virtual collaboration tool. This one is going to take longer than what we just ran through to actually run. So that's why I'm not going to run it like we're in a training. I'm just going to show you an example of this. All right. So this is a very, basic level demand analysis. I've got a sheet that you can look at that has a lot more different columns that you can unhide and use if you want to. But essentially, you're going to ask your team, what are all the different types of requests that you get as a team? Last time I run this talk in a meetup, somebody had a great suggestion. The way they say it is, if you had a store and people are coming to your store, what are they ordering? All right. What's in your marketplace? It's a little bit different than what are all the things you do as a team, right? Because they may do testing. But that's not really a request type, that nobody's asking them for testing unless maybe they're a performance team that's what they do for a lot of teams. Generally, what are people asking for, right? How many of those do you get? Is it tracked in Jira or another tool? Is it not? Right, so I'm going to show you the sheet here and I'm going to plop it in our chat, if you guys want to get in there while we're talking. But we go through, I first get them to do a list of all the request types. That's going to take a while just in itself. That probably takes the most time of them because sometimes they debate about, well, this is a request type, is it not a request type, or should it be bundled with this or not bundled with that, right? So they go through those. And then they can go column by column for each one. So is it tracked? Does that mean, is it in Jira or another support ticketing system, or what is it? Need access. Camille says she needs access. This says anyone on the internet can edit. It may be because so example tab is not editable. Oh, everybody's saying that. All right.
I wonder if those of us that are on our Capital One computers.
Oh yeah, you cannot do it if you're on a corporate laptop. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I'm on a corporate laptop.
Yeah. Yep. You need a personal account. Camille, I have it for those at Capital One. I do have this in a Capital One sheet, so I can send that to you guys separately. We can post it on Agile Hub
Yay.
Yay. Okay. All right, so is it tracked? Is it not? Where's it coming from? Is it coming from teams or a product owner, or how is it getting into the team? How often does it come? Well, not how often does it come? How many times does it come in a month, right? This is a monthly rate. So sometimes it's going to be a range. It could be this to this. The capacity question is crucial. Can you service the monthly rate? But here's the catch, without working over 40 hours a week. Right, so it's, yeah, sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. And there are other items in here you can do as well. You don't absolutely need these, right? And there's other options in here. How predictable is it in terms of the monthly rate? And how many, if you actually do have a delivery rate that you can get from your systems, you can put it in here. I try to not use what's in the systems just for this exercise to get it, just kind of get through it pretty quickly to create the conversation. Because does it really matter if it's 50 or 55? No, it doesn't. But I tell you what, those 200 or 400, this is a real team that I worked with. And they do support across the enterprise for an internal application that they manage. That's a lot. So they had a conversation. Wait, should we do these? Should we send these to a different support team? Should we send it to operations, right? This is where you get into those demand shaping type of conversations. All right, let me show you how I use this information, and then we can open it up for questions. So one thing just to realize, I do believe in the IKEA effect, which is basically if your team members are creating this, they will feel more ownership for it. If you do it as a facilitator, it's some exercise that Marie ran and I don't know what we're going to do with it, right? But they create it, they will feel like, hey, maybe we can take this to our team leader, right? Maybe we can have a conversation around this. They get a little bit more ownership of it, right? So when I use this in one of the towers, and I don't know if Ethan's on or remembers this moment, but we ran it in one of the towers at Capital One. And yes, I have permission for these people's pictures to be up here. Shelly is a wonderful, amazing leader at Capital One. We did the exercise, and this is when we were physical. So that's the picture that I have. But we did this exercise on a flip chart and brought it in to our PI planning, which was like the next day. And I just, we just had it up, right? As people were walking around, and I said, hey, Shelly, take a look at this. And I had one of the team leads be the one to walk her through it. I'm not going to walk her through it as a coach. I'm going to have the team show their leader what it is, right? Because it's their data, it's their information. They walked through this, and I noted, oh, that's the other thing. In the sheet, some of the data elements will turn colors if it's something that you should have a discussion about. If it's hidden work, it's not on the board, have a discussion about it. It doesn't mean all work needs to be in JIRA or the board. It means that you need to have a discussion that, hey, not all the work is in JIRA, so some of your hours in your day are being siphoned off by these other things, and there's no visibility to it. Do we want to change that, or do we not want to change it? Okay, it's just a discussion point. So we walked through this. She got so excited. She was like, hey, and you see arrows, right? She's like, hey, could we give some of this over to this other team? And how do we do this? And then she wanted all her teams to do it. And so we did all the teams in the towers. Candace is asking about the categories. This is one of the columns you can do. I kind of hid it from when I do it now with the teams, I don't have them do the category, but it's value creation, which is like enhancements, risk mitigation, failure demand, speculation. It's like a list that I had gotten from a previous coach, but I haven't seen a lot of value in it, so I don't do that category anymore. So when we did all the teams, they came up with action items out of it, things that they wanted to talk about or change, okay? And I also tried to figure out, how would I present this in an aggregate to the leadership team and to show other teams. So Shelley helped me share this story with other leaders, and then they wanted to do it, okay? And so this view is all the teams, and I just picked that one column. Do we have capacity to do this? That's just based on their feeling. That's not based on any, I mean, we're doing the exercise, but it's like, hey, yeah, I'm working a lot of overtime, and these are the types of requests I'm working overtime for. But you notice I took the team names off the bottom, because that's not important in an aggregate view to leadership. Okay, it's basically just saying, hey, it looks like we have a challenge here of a lot of our teams feeling like they don't have enough capacity and they have to work overtime. Let's do something about that. All right, so these are the things we did when demand exceeded capacity or capability. We got our leaders involved and we remind them to prioritize. That's the key word to use. You don't have to use words like whip and other things. And I know that it means two different things, but to them, it means if I prioritize, that means I do have to say no to some things. So you're providing more focus to the team. We've adjusted some of our SLAs. Maybe sometimes you don't have to get a fix done in a certain amount of time. We can elongate that. You can limit the shoulder tapping from the teams. We increased cross-selling on the capability side. We increased some cross-selling, and we did limit work in progress on the teams. And Charlene's saying I got 5 minutes left. That's pretty much the end of my slides. I'll also, like, if Ethan wants to say anything about what he saw with the teams, you're welcome to share as well. And then I'll open it up for questions.
I was just going to add that it definitely was eye-opening, and it was very helpful to get the leaders involved to see that. Like Shelley, I mean, she did love it, and then she did make the rest of the teams go through she requested that the rest of the teams go through the exercise, and every team appreciated it. I mean, it was very eye-opening for everybody, and it did change the way we bring in work. They really did stop taking on so much.
Right, and that's Scrum and Kanban teams, right? It wasn't.
Yes. Yep.
Great. Any questions?
Did I have one question. So like when you did that with, so as an ADL, of course, in Capital One, but when you ask, what I found was when I'm asking the team, I recently brought up, hey, you know, you guys are requesting this date and things are going to be delivered, and date was pushed out, and we're driving towards this date. I don't think we're going to make it. And instead of explaining, when you did this with the teams, did you do it where it was anonymous, or were they just like all right there? Because I found like when I'm talking to them, I'm like one-on-one, yeah, we're not going to make this. And, you know, when we get in the group, it's nobody wants to say, because of course, you know, the tech lead is their boss, and you know, or the senior manager is their boss.
Well, here's the thing. There's a difference between just asking them to share how much work is going on versus asking them to share, are you going to hit a date or not? So it depends on what you're talking to the team about. In this session, in this demand analysis, it's, hey team, share how many things you got going on. And they're going to fill that out, right? Mm-hmm. So the team leads, and thanks for bringing this up, Camille, because I forgot to mention this. Probably 9 times out of 10, when you do this, the team leads have no idea how much work is going on in the team. Like they think they know, and they know the team's busy, and they know the things that they're focused on, but they don't realize how much the team gets hit up by these other factors and these other teams.
Yeah.
So there was some light bulb moments for them in terms of like, wow, this is a lot. I don't, like, in terms of getting your team to speak up, I think it depends on what your question is, right? And what the exercise is.
True. Okay.
Candace is asking, sometimes a lack of acceptance criteria and definition of done can be identified as bottlenecks. Mm. Can you explain that, Candace?
So, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. So, just not having clear information in the stories, or just the expectations of the work that needs to be done, they can be addressed as bottlenecks, or identified as bottlenecks. So I was just wondering if you have any ideas or any activities, or even come across that, and what you've specifically done to address that. And specifically coming from the product owner, or, you know, even management of a team.
Yeah, I think the word bottleneck is maybe like throwing me off. It's like, are you saying that a lack of acceptance criteria can cause challenges with the team that includes them not being able to
move forward with the request,
reach their goals?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a tough one. And I have gotten a lot kind of more lenient in terms of acceptance criteria as I've continue in my Agile journey. I think the question is, you know, like, I would use some kind of retro, right? And say, hey, here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that we're not hitting these things, right? I'm seeing a lot of conversation too about intent that you guys need to do, and, you know, confusion around it. And I think it may be leading to us not hitting our dates. Is that what you guys are seeing? Like, gotcha. What are the other, right? Because if you just say, hey, you guys need to write more detailed acceptance criteria because that's what Agile says, or what Scrum says, or what something says, they're not going to be as bought in. But if you connect it to something that they care about, not hitting dates, right? Maybe it's a factor, maybe it's not. Maybe there's a different factor that's more important than getting the details. But if you're seeing a lot of confusion, and if you're seeing rework, that's where you need to bring it up.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, great. Our time's done today. I hope you guys liked the session. Charlene, is there feedback surveys, or do I need to?
Yes, we're going to be providing those at the end of the conference.
Okay, great.
So everybody remember Marie, remember the name of her topic, so that we can say that she was excellent and we really enjoyed her. Let me put myself on video so she can see the big smile on my face. But thank you so much, Marie. We really enjoyed it. If you have any questions for Marie, you can continue to put it in the chat. The next group is going to come up, and then I can capture that information. Or you can put it on Meetup, and we can also connect that way. But thanks again, Marie, and thanks everybody for joining.
Yep, and what the recording will be out there, but also the slides and the Google Sheets, I'll make sure to get to the Agile Richmond team so that those can be put up as well.
Thanks, Marie.
All right, thanks, bye guys.
Everybody. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Marie. Don't forget it's on our Slack channel.
All right.
You're done.
Back.